Lessons from the Masters Part 2. So on my last video, I talked about Siwoo Kim pounding his putter into the greens and breaking it and having to then play the remainder of his round using his 3-wood as a putter. And so it was, I did not complete the analogy that I saw, and that is that, how many times when you lose your cool or, allow yourself to get out of flow, rather than being your best self and being able to use your putter, you instead have to use tools or you end up using tools that are inferior to your primary tools. So in allowing anger or allowing other emotions to disrupt your effectiveness, you inherently go to or disrupt your being, that you then inherently have to go to inferior tools. And so the importance of mastering your emotional game is very important. So Robert J. Conley here, and I want to follow up with some additional thoughts, and they're mainly from an interview that I saw Sunday morning with David Duval, who was a red hot golfer in the late 90s, early 2000s, but did not win a Masters tournament. And he made a couple of interesting points that I think translate into life lessons. And so Duval, for those who don't know, David Duval was truly I think for 3 or 4 years, he was the hottest golfer, but he only won one major in his career. Now, he is an intuitive, and by input from some of my mentors and my own opinion, he appears to be an empathic intuitive. And so he inherently has more feeling going on, more emotion going on than a non-empathic intuitive. And, that I'm not saying for sure, but some of that could play into what happened to him during the Masters. But he brought up an interesting point regarding the Masters in particular. So for those of you who are not golf fans, there are 4 major golf tournaments every year. And they're played at the same golf tournaments that folks play at year round. But the combination of the aura, the mood that is set that this is a major, and by virtue of the fact that the golf courses are tweaked to make them extra hard during those tournaments, it becomes a different golf course. Now, the thing that's unique about the Masters tournament is it's the only one of the majors that is played at the same course every year in and year out. And so where Duval made the point that where other, you may have had a bad experience at last year's U.S. Open, but in this year's U.S. Open, you are playing a completely different golf course. And so you're not surrounded by memories of that past performance. Whereas at the Masters, the way Duval explained it is that it's both very enjoyable because of the magnificence of the course and the pageantry, but it can also be very challenging because you failed there just a year ago, and now all those things are still pretty clear in your head. And so a couple of things that happened for him, and I'm bringing this up because certain intuitive types are really prone to doing this kind of stuff. And it falls under the heading of introspection, but it's not necessarily healthy introspection. So a lot of it comes from just that overall thing of I coulda, shoulda done better. I coulda, shoulda, woulda, whatever. And so intuitives, in order to be masters of your life, to be masters of the tools you bring to the table, it's essential that you stay in looking forward mode. When intuitives engage in looking back at failures, nothing good comes from it. It is a destructive maybe not destructive. It's not a constructive place to be. And so, a discipline for intuitives to engage in is when looking at the past, focus on the positive things, focus on your wins. Don't go down the drain of the things that didn't work, because you, for the most part, intuitives are not equipped to handle that in a productive way. It becomes a wallowing. And so when you catch yourself in those kinds of situations, make the decision to literally turn, face the future. Maybe the first step is to be present to the present and then to face the future. And so, as I'm saying that, the other thing that Duval said is that you never get over it. Now he's speaking particularly about his own personality type, because there are personality types that do get over it. And the most natural athletes, the most accomplished athletes, get completely over it. They get over it to a degree that like a Duval can't even understand. But if you can't get over it, you then have the option of reframing it, the option of saying, okay, that happened. You're going to be over here on the side and you're going to walk with me for the rest of my life, whatever that failure happens to be, but I'm not going to allow it to control my future, and I'm going to keep my focus on the future. So, the thing to remember, that as soon as you start looking back, if you're looking back at things that didn't work for you, that you would call failures, you are surrendering your power to make a better future. And at times it might feel like it's constructive. It's like, oh, I'm trying to learn from the past. Well, you know what? Yes, learn from the past, but there's a limit to how much of that to engage in before you just face the future and let your intuition identify new connections, new opportunities, new things. And so, we all, every type can say this, that, that our memories can be bittersweet. And, Duval talks about it in terms of coming back to the masters. It's like, yeah, it's bittersweet, but some of the same demons come back to haunt him every year. So what's the lesson there? If you don't have to revisit those old places, don't visit them. So the thing that I want to close with is another commentator whose name I actually do not know, made the comment that there's no greater emotional investment in the game of golf than there is in the Masters tournament. Emotional investment. So each of us can choose how much emotional investment we put into our wins and losses. And what scientific studies have shown is that if you can moderate both, don't over celebrate your wins, don't over mourn your losses, your effectiveness over time will be much greater. And so don't let yourself slam that putter on the green and break that putter and have to use a 3-wood for the rest of the day, the rest of the week, the rest of your life. Be your intuitive self. Stay focused on tomorrow. Stay focused on the future. Stay focused on opportunities, and let those other things just kind of fade into the past. I'm Robert J. Conley. If you like this video, please hit like and please hit subscribe. I will see you next time.